Good afternoon, YouTube, and welcome back to Phatkat Collections. And today I'm doing another one of my story videos, and today I want to share with you guys, and if you're not familiar with what these are, basically I'm going back to some of the watches that I have in my collection that I don't really wear so much anymore, but they are part of what I consider my collection. And you know, what I've always said before is a collection of watches or a collection of anything really is things of different value and many different styles and types of things. So what I mean by that is, let's say you have a baseball card collection. Most guys don't have one pristine crown jewel card. They have a multitude of different cards of different values, and they're all special part of the collection. That's kind of how I view collecting anything, from watches, cologne, to jackets, to cars, whatever it may be. And some of the watches that I have in my collection are very old. And what I'm doing now is just kind of giving you guys a short story of my life, almost like a vlog of these older watches and kind of what I remember about getting them, and just kind of giving you an idea of how special that all these watches are in my collection. Now, if you guys don't know, I have 142 watches of inventory to pull from, and I don't mean inventory, but of watches in my collection. And they all don't get worn, but each one, whether they be $1 cheap Casio, or not Casio, but a fake Casio watch off eBay, like the generic, S-Shock or whatever, or they're, a brand new INVICTA watch, or an Aragon, or a Bulva, or a sponsorship deal, all these watches tell a story. And I do believe that watches and collecting things, and again, no pun intended, it's almost like a timeline of my life. So this is a watch that I got when I was a kid. I didn't get this as a kid, I should say. I remember seeing this watch as a kid. And what I want to share with you guys is my vintage Seiko dive watch. And this is my only Seiko watch in my collection, and I will get another Seiko watch at a later date. There are many Seiko watches that I really genuinely like. It's just it always seems like there's another watch that I find that just kind of jumps ahead of them. I think Seiko is a beautiful watch. I think they make a lot of really cool models. And again, the only thing about Seiko is that they tend to be smaller. And for me to buy a smaller watch, I really have to like it. And so this watch is actually a watch my dad got, I'd say probably around the 80s. And this is, from what I can tell from the research I've looked up, this is a vintage Seiko 756-604A Sports 100. And it's pretty amazing. One of these was actually sold on one of the, looks like Centric sites for $385 through PayPal. That's pretty amazing, because I believe that is more than the watch cost new. Now, this was my dad's watch, and what happened was he never really was a big watch guy. Even now that I'm into collecting, I've given him a couple watches, and he wears, he has an Android watch, and he has some Casio watches. He really likes the G-Shock watches, which are pretty cool. And he had this watch at one point, and my dad's the reason I kind of got turned on to Android, or now the new Aragon. And so I have him to thank for that. Thanks, Dad. And this is pretty cool, because I remember him wearing this as a child. Again, as a kid, I wasn't into watches. Although, as a kid, I have somewhere around here a vintage digital Star Wars watch. And I believe doesn't have the original strap, but it's around somewhere. I need to find it to add it to the collection. There's some box in this house somewhere where I have a few other watches that are, ones that I just kind of forgot I even had. So I'll find those eventually and add those to the channel. But this is the Sports 100. And this was produced right around somewhere in the 80s, if I can remember correctly. And I remember my dad having this watch and wearing it for quite some time until the band broke. And there was kind of a defective portion of this band here, and I don't really remember exactly what the problem was, but for whatever reason or other, these pins just wouldn't take a bite, and once they came out, the watch was useless, so it sat in the drawer forever. And finally, as I started getting involved in collecting watches, I said, Dad, and I think I was probably maybe 20 to 23 years old. And I said, Dad, you still got that Seiko watch? I want to check it out. You don't want to add it to the collection. And, naturally, he didn't care, because it just sat in the drawer. He didn't wear it anymore. And I ended up taking it to a jeweler. And what they did is they actually were able to tap the band right here. And this was, I forget exactly the problem, but the band would not go on. So they drilled the band out, and they were able to put in some sort of push pin in order to reattach the band to the watch, where you probably don't ever want to take this off. I'm not sure if it's just I don't think it's, I think what they normally did is I think what I can tell, he actually drilled the sides out and then ran a pin just not really, I guess kind of like a push pin, like a tension pin all the way through to hold the band on. So it was nice because I was able to wear the watch, and although it's not my style anymore, it's very, very small, it's still a cool piece. And every now and then I throw on the wrist, just kind of reminisce. It has a non-unidirectional, I'm not sure what you would call that, but the bezel rotates in both directions. I'm not sure if that was original or not. Some of you folks might be able to tell me. It has the crown down at the, what is that, the 4 o'clock position. It is a screw down crown to my knowledge. Let me just double check that here. Is it? Not really sure. No, it's not. It's a, well, looks like, you know what, it is, but I just think it's kind of, oh, it is. There we go. I just haven't screwed it down for so long. You have your day of the week, day of the month right here. As you can see at the, what is that, the 3 o'clock position. You have loom on all your indices. And a lot of the finish here on the bezel as far as the numbers, what you would consider, I guess, the pip is actually worn off. But the rest of the numbers are still intact. There are some mild scratches. Or I shouldn't say mild, there's a lot of scratches throughout the entire watch, but it's a brush finish watch, so they're not super noticeable. Screw down case back, I did unscrew the case back on this, and I tell you, I really got to invest some better tools before I ever mess around with another watch. I did put a small scratch in on the back, oops, so words to the wise, buy the proper tools if you're gonna mess around with this stuff, but still a cool vintage piece. And this is my thing, you know, when guys get on YouTube and they bash other brands, they talk crap about INVICTA, they talk crap about Aragon or Bulver or whatever brand somebody hates on, you know, it's always cool to have a vintage piece in your collection, and one day all the ones I have will be vintage pieces. And what's really cool about it is that styles change, designs change, but you know, any of these watches, a watch is really something that's kind of timeless. You can always throw it on your wrist and you still wear it. And this watch, although the battery is dead, so it is not functional, it's still a great watch to have in the collection, and it means a lot to me. And that's kind of my story about this watch. And I remember wearing it for a little while, but again, even back when I was like in my early 20s, it was still something that wasn't really my style at the time. I really I've always been kind of a gaudy guy when it comes to watches. I like gold, I like things that really, you know, really speak out and pop. And naturally, this is just a basic watch. Really, nobody's ever going to notice that unless they are a Seiko collector. But there's a lot of Seiko collectors out there and lots of folks who appreciate a vintage piece. And I just wanted to share this with you guys in my story about how I acquired this watch and how much it means to me to have it in my collection, because it was my dad's. And, you know, although he wouldn't wear this right now, it's still cool that I have it and that it fits me, and I can always bust it out and wear something that was my father's, which is pretty awesome. So that's what it looks like on my wrist. Again, I have a 7-inch wrist, about 5'7½", and that's what it looks like on a guy my size, my height, and my weight. This watch here, I'm trying to look at the actual, before I close and talk too much more, is it says here it has rotating bezel, Seiko signed clasp, which I probably should have showed you guys that actually, since I have a little bit of information here. I'll go ahead and show you guys. I'll show you what it looks like on the wrist again here. Okay, your Seiko sign clasp on the back. Again, this is just a friction clasp. You do have a lot of micro adjustments throughout that clasp. And what else here? It's 38 millimeters, so definitely a small watch. My gosh, I don't think I've ever worn anything under like 47. So really a small watch for me to really enjoy wearing. But again, you know, watches are, you know, it's a collection, and whether I wear it or not, whether I, you know, it's something that gets wrist time or not, it's still something that I really appreciate having. There is a large scratch across the crystal on this here, so you know, that's kind of a bummer, but it's not too, you can't really see it. Maybe right there you can kind of see it, kind of at the date window there, but who cares, you know? I mean, it's an old watch. I mean, going back to the 80s, you know, I mean, this watch is over, you know, I'd say it's probably 25 to 30 years old. I'm not sure when in the 80s it was actually purchased. Probably in the early 80s, if I can remember correctly. But then again, I can't really, you know, guarantee that. But I know it was in the 80s sometime, because I remember being a kid and just seeing this in my dad's dresser drawer, and I would open up the drawer and look at it, and it sat there forever just because it failed so quickly. But still an awesome watch, and that's my story of my vintage Seiko timepiece. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know about your stories. I love getting the comments, and stay tuned for more of these kind of little stories I'm going to be doing. I'm still always going to be reviewing watches and getting new product to share with you guys, but it's nice to kind of come back and just kind of give you guys a vlog on some of these what I would consider vintage timepieces or really older timepieces I'm not really sure you consider like the other one I did the other day, like the Jacob & Company hip hop watch, a vintage piece. It's really not. I have watches that are fashion jewelry that are, really, like I said, inexpensive. Ones that are, upwards of $4,000 retail today. It just kind of, depends. I love them all. They're all cool, and I love being able to look at them all and yeah, it's just awesome to keep building the collection. I'm passionate about it, as you guys can see. So remember, guys, if you like the channel, subscribe. Almost at 12,000 subscribers. Seems like I just hit 11 not that long ago. So I really hope the ball really keeps rolling here. I'm going to keep branching off and sharing all these things I'm into. The channel is really kind of turning into more of a vlog. But it is Phatkat Collections, and I'll always keep it real and honest with you guys. And man, drop a comment, click like if you like the video, and subscribe. If you do subscribe, click the bell so you're notified anytime I upload a new video. And I'm going to compile these story time videos in a playlist so you can check them all out. But stay tuned for more, guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.